cannot believe we did this. Endgame is the #1 film of all time. And when I say we, it's every person that saw this movie. Every person that invested their time, their money, everything. I feel like I'm doing an Oscar speech even though I had nothing to do with the movie. But I'm sure if you're like me, you feel such a connection to these movies. I was 12 when the first film came out. I remember seeing it in the movies and just being blown away. Idolizing a fictional character that I'd never even heard of before. Yes, he was an asshole, and yes, he was self-centered, but he was a survivor. Whatever life threw at him, he found a solution. And I've always admired that. Then in 2012, The Avengers. I just started at a new school, I didn't know anybody. And on my first week, these people that I didn't even know said, "Hey, come see this movie. It's called The Avengers. I've heard it's pretty good." I didn't know it was connected to the Iron Man movies or the other movies. I didn't know it was a connected universe. But then I saw Iron Man, I saw Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, even Hawkeye. And that movie literally changed my life. I was a 15-year-old kid and I loved movies. The reason I moved to this school was purely because they had a film program so I could go and study film. And I could not believe what I was seeing. Do you remember seeing the first Avengers film? Like really, do you remember seeing it? Because now it's the normal to have multiple superheroes in a film. But think back to 2012. There was no such thing, nothing like it. Seeing these characters with real problems interacting with each other. I saw this movie like 12 times, and I was hooked. I saw Captain America just after a girl decided to dump me. Sorry. Let me rephrase. After her and her friends got together and decided it was best that we weren't together anymore. I was in year 11. Don't you just love when people band together and make a group decision for you? Even though it's nobody else's business and it's more of a personal issue. But I remember the phrase being thrown around that I wasn't good enough. And then I saw Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And it's almost poetic that in that movie, no matter what people say, always do what you think is right. And it honestly blew me away. This espionage thriller, awesome action, and when everybody thought Cap was wrong, he still pushed forward and did what he thought was right. Age of Ultron, fresh out of school. Me and my buddies had just turned 18, so we were legally old enough to drink in Australia. And so because we were so excited for this movie, we went out beforehand, had a lovely pre-celebratory dinner, and obviously with the celebratory dinner, you decide to partake in some drinks. And I remember myself and my good friend Raylan, how we doing mate, having one too many rum and cokes. And I remember sitting in that movie, looking up at the screen, and it was Cinema 3, the one I see all the Avengers films in. Massive screen, just the world was spinning, and yet I still had an absolute blast. Captain America Civil War. I was on this mad trip going through Asia and Europe, and I remember there was a rumor coming out that Spider-Man was going to be in the Civil War trailer. Back then that was mind-boggling. Do you remember when you heard Spider-Man, who was in Sony, was going to be in the MCU? That was something that we just couldn't fathom. And so I was in Vietnam, and I remember walking around the hotel room trying to find a spot with reception just to watch the trailer. The channel Emergency Awesome had the trailer. I honestly watched it about 25 times. Huddled up in this little corner of a hotel room watching it. I had my friend Paddy saying, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." And I was like, "Mate, the trailer's on." And as luck would have it, I just so happened to be in London when they had the premiere. There was crowds of people everywhere, and I got to see Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., all of them. And they're only about a kilometre away, and it was awesome. I then went and saw the movie in London, and as you do, you get a popcorn and a soft drink, and they had the Captain America or the Iron Man. Cap or Iron Man. And I couldn't choose. So I'm sitting in the cinema in London, and remember, I'm from Australia. Sitting in the cinema in London, cinema completely sold out, and I look around the cinema and the amount of people that had 2 soft drinks and 2 popcorns, just so they could get the little action figures that were on top of the soft drinks. What an amazing day. Then the big one, Avengers Infinity War. I can't tell you how unbelievably excited I was. Probably more excited than Endgame. When that trailer dropped, I watched that trailer every single morning. It got me psyched for the day. It was like a motivational video. I remember my girlfriend at the time, I used to drive her crazy quoting the trailer. You know the lines.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe. But this does put a smile on my face. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny will still arrive.
I love that line. And finally, Endgame. The big one that pays off all of our time, our money, our investment that we've put into this film franchise. Victoria Point Cinema 3, where as I said I'd seen all of the Avengers films. I booked my tickets as soon as they came out. Tim, Chris, Courtney, Amy, Tom, and myself. We get there so early because I just want to be in the queue, experiencing it with everybody. The audience, that's something that I'm never gonna forget. It was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced. You might have seen the reaction videos online, or you might have experienced it yourself. People cheering, people gasping, people yelling, people standing, people clapping. It was one of the greatest moments I've ever had, and I've had some pretty great moments in my life. And I know people that were having a really hard time, and they were really struggling to push through. And I know for a fact that in their mind, Endgame. They just wanted to make it to Endgame. It kept them going. So what if you hated your job? Endgame's coming. So what if you've got family problems? Endgame's coming. So what if you struggle to sleep every night because you worry that you're not going to amount to anything? Because you know what? Endgame is coming. So I just want to thank Kevin Feige and all of Marvel, as I'm sure you'd want to as well. Because that's what I love about movies. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, what you believe in, or whatever you're going through. It brings you together. It gives you common ground. And yes, this is a different video to what I normally do. And yes, it's not full of jokes and comedy, and it's quite emotional. But it's happy emotions. I still can't watch that Avengers Assemble scene without getting emotional. To think of what I've grown up with, to think of how it's all come together, to think of what we have accomplished. Because if you didn't see those movies, and I didn't see those movies, and we didn't make it such a crucial part of our lives, we wouldn't have this moment. And throughout this journey, if you ever feel like you're alone, you're not. You're a Marvel fan. No matter how small or how big of a fan you are a Marvel fan. And you're part of this unique community and this unique experience and time in our lives that we may never experience again. And this movie proves that by being #1 of all time. And use that to push forward. Use that as fuel, whatever your goals are. This franchise is what got me on YouTube. This franchise is the reason I get to talk to you guys right now. No matter if one person watches or millions of people watch. I'm doing something, and I'm doing it because of this franchise. And so join with me. Share this video. Celebrate this video. Text your mate that you haven't spoken to in way too long and say, holy shit, we were a part of something. And so thank you Marvel, thank you Stan Lee, thank you Kevin Feige, and thank you to you all. And remember, whatever your goals are, work hard and be lucky.